All right, let's get started. Hello, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 11 o'clock Central Time, noon Eastern Time on Saturday, April 23rd, 2022. Thank you for joining our board meeting today. It is being recorded, so let's get started. Secretary Treasurer Yvette Davila Richards was called to work today, so President-elect Claire Regan will call the roll. Claire?
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. President Rebecca Aguilar.
Here.
Claire Regan, I am here. Israel Balderas.
Here.
Emily Block.
Here. Hi, everyone.
Daniela Ibarra.
Here.
Danielle McLean.
Here.
Rafael Almeida.
Here.
And Cheryl Smith.
Here.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Claire. Appreciate you stepping in. Now the approval of the minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Right, a second, please.
I'll second, Claire.
Okay, Claire, motion by Rafael, second by Claire. Any discussion on the minutes? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, seeing none, the motion carries. The minutes are approved. Okay, so now we're going to move into the president's report. And I want you to listen closely to what I'm going to say because you're going to be very happy. It has been a very interesting 3 months since our last board meeting. You know, I've always said that the SPJ chapters, the communities, the committees, they're the backbone of this organization. It's what we do call SPJ Strong. They're always focused on serving our members, whether on the national or local level. And let me just say, they have been very productive. Just give me a moment to brag about them, because that's what I want to do. In January, we had our first national MMJ Safety First Town Hall with the help of SPJ Georgia Pro Chapter. This happened after a solo TV reporter was almost killed on live TV. SPJ National stepped in with a town hall that was attended by more than 100 journalists. We gathered to share ideas on how to make working conditions better for MMJs. We have continued those town halls. We have been the only journalism organization that has confronted this issue head on with the town halls. And SPJ has been applauded by members of other organizations for doing so. So thank you to our board who said, yes, let's go for it, and for the chapter in Georgia. In January and February, we received more entries for our Mark of Excellence and Sigma Delta Chi awards than the year before. Congratulations to all the recent MOE winners and finalists. Thank you to the Awards and Honors Committee and Committee Chair Brian Collister for revamping both awards, and to Lou Harry, SPJ Manager of Publications and Awards, for his guidance. Also in February, we decided to increase our funds for our regional coordinators to help them plan in-person regional conferences. We wanted them just to be great. We funded them with $1,000. Thank you, President-elect Claire Regan, for making the suggestion, because she's planned plenty of conferences and we know it takes money. In March, the membership committee launched the hashtag SPJ Chapter Strong Leadership Series. Now listen to this. These are virtual roundtables for chapter leaders by chapter leaders. They help each other with everything from how to attract new members to building the next team of local leaders. A second leadership roundtable is in the plans. Thank you to Membership Committee Chair and the Membership Committee Chair Adam Sennett for your vision on this leadership. Also in March, we had a successful Sunshine Week. Thank you to the FOI Committee and Chair Haston Willis for shining a light on having access to public information. We're always seeking the truth. We need that public information. April started with a very successful Ethics Week with 2 virtual roundtables that included CNN's Sarah Seidner and ethics expert Tom Rosenstiel. A big thanks to Dwayne Pullman, Chair of the Professional Standards and Ethics Committee, and SPJ Ethics Director Rod Hicks for the success of Ethics Week. In March and April, the regional coordinators organized great regional conferences Some were in person, others were virtual. I was able to attend a few of them. A big thank you to the regional coordinators who continue to inspire journalists around the country. And thank you to the local chapters who also helped in the planning. And I can't say enough about our local and student chapters. Every week, a chapter is having a Zoom event that keeps us informed or inviting outstanding speakers who continue to teach us about the do's and don'ts in journalism. Our chapters continue being the boots on the ground around the country. Many have been the local defenders for journalists who are the targets of local politicians upset with them for doing their jobs. You know, we have become easy targets. Thank you, chapters, for being that local voice of support. And also a big congrats to the Chicago Headline Club that is celebrating its 100th anniversary, going strong in Chicago. Okay, we cannot forget our communities. Thank you to the international community that continues to keep us informed about what journalists are facing in other countries, from Hong Kong to Ukraine. And thanks to the freelance community. You all know I'm a freelancer. There is now the SPJ Foundation Freelance Fund, created to support independent journalists with training and resources. Also, a big thanks to the SPJ Foundation for its support. I've always said that under this board's leadership, we would be positive and productive. All the volunteer leaders on the national and local levels are focused on helping our members thrive and survive. And we have a staff that continues to support our efforts. Thank you so much. We should all be proud of what we have been accomplishing. And this is why we continue to attract new members every month. You'll hear about that later. We're also celebrating 2 new chapters. We made history with the first professional chapter being established in Puerto Rico. It was one of my goals as president. Thank you to Adam Sennett in Boston, by the way, the membership chair. He made it happen. I also want to thank Ana Rocio Alvarez Priñas, the new president of the Puerto Rico chapter, for working closely with Adam to bring in new members. Ana could not join us today because she had to work, but sent the following statement. It is incredible. It is an incredible honor to be able to lead and represent this organization among my Puerto Rican colleagues. I came into SPJ by accident. I wanted to invest my time. I was getting out of college and I needed something productive to do. Not in a million years did I think that I would be where I am now. I'm currently the president of the new Puerto Rican chapter of SPJ. I'm the vice chair of the SPJ membership committee, and I'm part of the Future Leaders Academy that will meet in Indianapolis next month. I am so grateful for all these opportunities and to be part of SPJ. My board and I are working to make SPJ known among our peers and colleagues on the island. We hope to continue expanding our chapter and hopefully inspire the creation of more chapters in Puerto Rico. Everyone, please welcome the Puerto Rico chapter members who may be among us today. Please say hello, congratulate them. Thank you to the Puerto Rico chapter and to Adam Sennett. I wish we had a little soundtrack here. The board also approved a new student chapter at Baruch College in New York City. Its official name will be BCSPJ. Thank you, President Amanda Salazar, and your board of volunteers in helping lead this new chapter. Thank you to Emily Johnson, the chapter's advisor, and also a member of the SPJ Deadline Club. Is anyone here from this chapter by any chance that you'd like to say a few words? Anybody? I know Emily's on assignment, she said. Well, going. Okay. So I just want to thank both chapters into the SPJ family. So before we move to public comments.
I'm sorry, Robert.
Oh, did someone say? No? All right. Oh, yes, Rafael?
I just wanted to say that Baruch College, I want to welcome the chapter to SPJ and mention that 2 of our board members, myself and Yvette Davila Richards, are graduates of Baruch College. So we are extremely personally proud of this accomplishment and welcome you to SPJ with absolutely open arms.
Thank you. Good to know that you're the part of the alumni. All right, so before we move to public comments, I want you to please keep the Ukrainian people and the journalists who are in the middle of covering this war in your thoughts and prayers. Many Ukrainians have been injured and killed since this war started, and several journalists have also been injured and killed. Let us not forget their courage and loss during this difficult time. Okay. Okay, so let's go into public comments. Remember, let's be positive and productive. I also know some of you like to chat in the chat. I'll try to look at the chat, but I like to focus on your faces right here and what's being said. So, you know, keep those chats in there, but remember they're public record now that we are posting with our videos and minute meetings. Also, heads up, the board will be going into executive session to discuss the nominees for the Fellows of the Society Award. Okay, now public comments. Who wants to speak first? And please, everyone, let's try to keep our comments to 2 minutes or less because we don't want to make this a marathon board meeting. And a reminder again that this is public comments, not discussion time. All right, let me see. Who do we have? Let me look. Who would like to speak first?
Galati, Region 9.
All right.
Join the meeting.
All right. Who would like, anybody want to raise their hand? Claire, help me out. Board members, help me out if I'm missing any hands.
Yeah,
Anybody?
I'm looking.
Just,
Colin DeVries has his hand up.
all right, Colin, come on
Hey,
forward.
everybody. Can you hear me? I'm in the car.
Okay. Yes, yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm going to try to be brief. I just generally wanted the board to hear my concern about something that I had learned about on my own recently, and some of you know on the board already what I'm talking about, but I just want to, I just want the board to know that I want all of us, all of you, to please always prioritize our code of ethics in our associations, and always work to champion journalists who adhere to that. I believe strongly in that, and I also believe strongly in my own instinct. And if something within you feels like something is wrong, it probably is. And I just want you all to be cognizant of that feeling, and that feeling may also be shared by our members when certain things become evident to them. And I want us to be ready for that as an organization. I want us to be able to position ourselves so that we don't ever harm our reputation, and that we're always upholding our code appropriately. And so, I just want us to always put that out in the public, that that is what we are doing, and make it known, not right away, up front, rather than trying to play damage control later on. And that's all I really wanted to say.
Well, Colin, thank you, Colin. I appreciate it. And it's a really good reminder, as someone who has been a journalist for 40 years, I live by that code. I think it's important in both in journalism and as running this organization. And as you see, and I'm sure Colin heard all the positive things that the chapters and the communities and the committees have been doing. Our SPJ code of ethics is important. I also know that as a reporter, and as all the journalists here, student journalists, journalism educators, we get the facts. We get the facts all the time, both sides. And I appreciate that Colin brought this to our attention because our code is important. But we also, as journalists, what I appreciated is that, we deal with so much from the outside, right? And the inside. But I think Colin's words of wisdom there are to always make sure that we have our organization's best interests. And I'm proud of this board, and I'm proud of our membership, because I think we have been on a positive path. So thank you again, Colin. I appreciate your words. All right, anybody else?
Andy Schatz has his hand up, Rebecca.
Andy? Yes? I'm sorry, I don't see you. Are you on
I'm
camera?
here.
All right, go ahead. Andy, go
Yes,
ahead.
hi, thanks. I just had a quick question. I saw on the agenda that the delegate task force report is on the agenda for today. But I
Yes.
was wondering if that's something that would be available for people to read as well.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah.
I don't see it.
Thank you. Good question. Again, this is for comments, but yes, please wait for me to get there and I will let you know where you will be able to see those written recommendations or what they have said. But good question. Thank you so much. Again, let's keep this to comments. Yes, I hope I answered your question. Thank you. Who's next?
I don't see anybody else right now, Rebecca.
Jennifer, you, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Jennifer.
So will we be allowed to comment after the report is given for the delegate task force on that subject?
Let me just say that we're going to talk about the recommendations. We're going to have, again, this is public comments, but we're going to have another meeting pertaining to the delegate task force recommendations next month. So I hope that answers, but let me see when we get there. But good question. Thank you, Jennifer.
I will save my comment for that then. But I did want to mention that I would love it. I've spoken with the regional coordinators, and as the chair of that caucus, we had a little bit of a struggle this year with planning the conferences and getting enough participation with the Mark of Excellence Awards. When we got the finalists, it was less than 2 weeks before many of our conferences. And so to be able to get participation and let the finalists know that they were finalists, I know for a lot of people, it was too quick of a turnaround for them to plan to go to the regional conference. So if there is any way for the board and headquarters to consider maybe moving up those deadlines so that we get the finalists ahead of a little bit more lead time, I think we would have better participation in our in-person regional conferences. I understand that it takes a long time to get the Mark of Excellence Awards judged and everything. And I'm glad to hear that there were so many more participants this year, but that would be something that would help our regional conferences be have more participation.
Jennifer, great suggestion. You're right. 2 weeks is not enough. Definitely. It's something that I will talk with the awards committee chair. Also, I'm sure John will have, discuss it with Lou. We're always here to do better. And I appreciate that suggestion. You are right. 2 weeks is not enough. I wasn't aware of it, but definitely with your recommendation, we will do better next time. Thank you so much. All right. Anybody else?
Adam Sennett would like to make a comment.
Adam?
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to say, as chair of the membership committee, I hope we can keep working on getting our membership database issues under control. I'm still getting emails from people chapter leaders who are having issues. I had an email a couple of days ago from somebody who said they'd reached out to headquarters about a month ago for chapter issues and had never heard back. And they emailed headquarters a couple of days ago because I told them to follow up again, and they were told that the issues were being looked into that afternoon and that they would get a response, and they didn't. And as far as I know, they still haven't gotten a response. So I know a lot of chapters have been having a lot of issues. People have been coming to me as membership chair. I really hope this is something we can get under control. So thank you.
Adam, thank you so much. And John will be addressing that issue in his presentation. But it is something that we take seriously. It's something that Claire and I and John have talked about. It has been a headache for a long time. And you also know that there's been some transition in our staff. So again, John will be addressing it in a short while. Thank you, Adam, for your feedback. I appreciate it. Anybody else? Please, I'm sorry, I can only see so much in my little laptop. Anybody?
I'm checking. I don't see any other hands at the moment.
Please speak
Anybody?
up. Who? Anybody else? All right, I'll give you 30 seconds. Anybody? All right. Well, thank you everyone for your comments. I appreciate it. Your feedback is important, your recommendations, your advice. You know, I write it all down. I'll talk it over with John and Claire, but it's important to get your feedback. Because if we stop listening, we stop being a good organization. So thank you. All right, now the executive director's report, I'll turn it over to John Schertzer. John?
Thank you, Rebecca. Hello, everybody. Hope all is well where you are, and thanks for joining us on a Saturday. I echo everything that Rebecca shared earlier about the successes of the organization thus far into this board's term, but also the year 2022, which has been a pretty fast-paced year for SPJ already. And that's, if you read my report, you know, I'll kind of let that stand as it is and answer any questions you might have. But staff has had to work through a couple of things that have been pretty significant, and I feel like we did a fairly good job of that. One was selling our headquarters building, packing up boxes upon boxes of furniture and supplies, moving those things, and then equipping ourselves in a new workspace that is working out pretty well for us at this point, but we're always going to be keeping our eyes open for what might be next if this doesn't work. But I thought that went really well. The staff did a good job of coming together around that and worked hard on that. When you're in a building for 20 years, you accumulate a lot of stuff. Everybody knows it has in your homes, your attics and your basements and all that. You know, when you go to look into that, it's, you know, what we've learned is we want to try to keep things tamped down. So the next time we have to do this, we don't have to pack up as much. But it worked out well, got a good buyer on the property, good revenue for the organization, which we'll talk about later in the financial report. We've also had some staff turnover. That happens with every organization and often, but we lost some staff that, you know, have been around for quite a bit of time. So there was a lot of knowledge transfer and information transfer that was necessary to complete, and we're still in the process of that. I think we're getting stronger every day, but you know, it is a hectic and busy time in SPJ, always spring is, and with awards and regional conferences and things like that. So a lot of trial by fire and learning on the job in some regards, but I feel like we're getting back and steady again in those regards. But as far as the programmatic things, I think the Ethics Week was a phenomenal program. Thank you to the Professional Standards and Ethics Committee. Sunshine Week, FOI committee did a nice job coordinating that activity. And then some of the other things that Rebecca mentioned. So I'll just echo that. So I want to first take any questions you have on my written report, and then I have some other information to share with you about updating you on our membership issue. As Adam referenced, I do want to provide you sort of with some information on that as well.
Board, any questions for John? Very thorough report, by the way. Anybody? Speak now. All right, John.
Okay, I'm going to share with you a presentation at this stage. And then, hold on one second, let me get to, share it again. I think I'd be a pro at this by now, but I can't. Here we go. All right, so let's talk through some membership initiatives and issues that we want to make sure you're aware of. One of the things that has been a particular challenge in these first few months and dealing with the staff transition and other things is that we have had some issues with our membership software system, and we want to walk through some of that with you. So let me do that at this stage. So at a previous job, I once had a meeting with the US Army, and they used the term in their presentation to us, bluff, or bottom line up front. Very, very much you know, let's get to the point. Let's not dance around it. So I've stolen that since. I love that term, but bottom line up front is SPJ has experienced some technical issues with its membership software, which is called Impexium. That's the company we work with. These issues have primarily impacted some members choosing to renew and some who intended to join a chapter. In addition, staff turnover led to some drop off in how we have dealt with member billing and communications. So that's the issues as that's sort of the premier or prominent issues that we're facing and dealing with at this point. Before we get into more of that, let me share with you some bright spots. So just sort of to kind of assuage maybe some concerns. We have had over 900 new members join since January 1st. So that's been fantastic. And they've used the membership software to join. So we've, obviously the system works. Student numbers continue to be strong. We seem to see an increase in student numbers, which I think is an important category because the more student numbers we can get in and the more growth we can have in that area, that has eventually shows itself into the future with our postgraduate numbers and our professional numbers and so on and so forth. At our most recent peak of membership, which was just about a year ago, Impexium was our software and was working smoothly for the most part. So again, we've had some issues. Most of them have been in how staff have worked with the system, but the system I feel I still have confidence in, and note that we had our highest peak with this system in place. And Impexium has been a responsive partner. So every time we do bring issues to Impexium, then they are very quick about dealing with those. We've almost got, for a time period, we almost had daily phone calls and interactions with them to make sure we were getting things established. So for instance, I pulled one of our newer members here, Laura, and just to show you that Laura in this time period of having some of these issues was able to use the system, did join the Los Angeles Pro chapter, took the step to upload a picture to her profile, which we encourage everyone to do, did everything and is represented and shown as a professional member from now until next year in the 12-month cycle. So again, we understand there's concerns, and I've been focused on them daily, but there's some wins too. We're seeing that the system can work and does work. So let me get into the issues as we define them. So you are aware, and this is going to get more detailed than a governing board might need to have, but just so you're aware of where we're going. So due to a misstep by some departed staff, some members paid on open orders that actually renewed their membership for 2023 instead of 2022. It was a very interesting challenge we were learned of, and then was quite an interesting one to try to solve. So for instance, if I went in to the system and I saw that I had a payment due to renew, I would go to do that. But what I was paying on was an order that was actually set up for me for my membership a year from now. And so it was just sort of and it was an error that we can't really figure out the genesis of, but what it led to is that we had to go back and correct several of those records and make sure that those were corrected. Where we learn of them, we're still correcting them. The worst thing that could happen is that somebody doesn't realize this happened to them. They go through this whole year and then their dues are covered for next year. So that's basically what it does impact, is that it can impact chapter rosters, because if this individual did this, or unfortunately this happened to them, then they won't be shown on the chapter roster because they're not considered a current active member. They'll be considered a member when that kicks into next year. So that's, like I said, more detail than you require, and we are working this out. So, but this did happen, and we're trying our best to solve that issue. Can't say it happened to hundreds of records, maybe more like dozens, but we're working through it and we're getting it solved. Some members have described challenges finding their chapters when they go through the system. So, and we understand that that's an issue, and we're trying to figure out, because when we test it and we look at it, the chapters are there and we can find them, but some members are having challenges with it. So we need to figure out why that is and correct the system to make that better. Our member dues invoices have been inadequate. We've been sending orders out or invoices that are very Spartan. They just don't have a whole lot. They're just very to the point. And they're missing some pieces that we'd like to have. So we're working on building that out as well. So that's been within the last few months as well. Before that, we did have a better system. Staff transition led to us choosing to do it a different route, and we're going to have to go back and correct it now, but we'll get there. And I truly feel like we'll get to a good spot. So due to the issues above that I just described, chapter roster reports have not listed always all active members. So when we find out that a report is missing that, we try to go figure out what happened, correct that record on our end if we can, or ask the member to do so if it requires their something for them to do. But either way, we're responsive to it and we're trying our best to get that figured out. So chapters and members have been great about bringing these things to our attention. We really appreciate when they're brought forward with, say, hey, can you look into this kind of approach? And we do, and then we try to solve it and address it. But, for a time there, it felt like that all these things cascaded at once, and we were a little overwhelmed by these issues. But I feel like we've dug out of that, and we are back to sort of Still, some of these are present, but we're trying our best to, and we're getting better each and every day. So why did this all happen? Just generally, staff transition was probably the primary thing. So we had one staff member that led on the software program who departed, didn't get a lot of good handoff or transition from that departure, tried to fill in the gaps on our own and work with Impexium to figure it out, missed some steps, so on and so forth. So now we're getting back to where I believe a good position where we understand how these things go. We're complicated as an organization. We have over 700 different options for a person to choose when they go into this system. And Impexium has told us that we're probably the most complicated client we have. What I mean by that is we have over, hundreds of chapters. Every chapter has a 1, 2, 3, or monthly option. And then we have many categories on the professional side as well. So if you put all those things together, the options that are available number over 700. A lot of opportunity for glitches when you have that many options. So, or things to just get askew. So that's one of the things that we have to deal with. And I think that's going to be something we'll always deal with, but we'll just, that's not as big of an issue when it's one-offs and things like that. It's still a relatively new system for us. So it went into place late 2020. So we've had it for just over a year and a half or so. So we're learning and we're building it out. It's still, according to staff who've been around and members I've talked to, a better system than what we had before, but we're still learning how to work with it. And frankly, I wasn't hands-on enough in the system. I handed that off to staff that I trusted to do and to manage, and staff do carry out and do a good job of that, but I needed to be more hands-on at the transition point to make sure that I understood how these things are. So now I feel like I'm as knowledgeable about this system as anyone, and I took it on myself to really dig deep and roll up my sleeves and try to figure this out so that these issues can be addressed and addressed quickly. So, but my apologies for not being on it when it first happened as quickly, and now I feel like we are. So I keep saying that things are getting better, and I trust me, we are in a much better place than we were even a month ago. So thinking ahead, so those were the issues, and we're working through those issues, and I really feel like we'll solve those issues. We haven't lost any members, like the system didn't crash. There isn't members missing. They're in there, but some are, need to be, the dates need to be shifted around, or things need to be done to their record, but those all can be alleviated over time and will be. So I want us to make this year, this has opened my eyes to some of the pervasive challenges we've had and persistent challenges we've had with our membership software going way back years, upon years. And I think it's time that we, as a staff, involving volunteer leadership, we put these issues to bed and make SPJ have the strongest member experience in the business. It's time. We have a system that can do that for us. I believe we have the ability to make that work. We've hired new staff. Amy Monti-Leon, who's on the call today, will be serving as our membership specialist. She was hired in to sort of do a combination of what Caroline was doing and what Linda was doing, but has really taken off with the membership program and the membership software, and deals exclusively and well with Impexium and with members who call. So we've positioned her to be our membership specialist, and we'll work out the other things, but she's going to be hands-on and take this on and work it out. But it's time for this organization to really solve these problems. And so we're going to dig into it, and in a matter of, I hope by July, to report to you all sorts of wonderful things that we've done. And throughout the course of the year, we're going to get this finally figured out, because I know Rebecca's tired of hearing about it, Claire's tired of hearing about it, Adam's tired of hearing about it, so am I. And it's time we get this figured out. So what we're going to do is, at minimum, these 4 things in the short term. We're going to work diligently to ensure the joining and renewal process with Impexium is user-friendly and incorporates member, chapter, and community feedback. We're already rebuilding portions of the system now that will be unveiled as soon as the software developers at Impexium have tested it. That will make it easier to find chapters, and it makes so that members automatically, so when you go into the system, it assumes you're going to join a chapter, and it gives you that list before you even choose what your national category is, so that it encourages chapter joining, and it gives that right up front. So you can't miss it. And then I think that'll be very helpful. Those will be some changes we're making amongst others. But over the next weeks and months, we're going to keep looking at the system to make it better. We want to do a campaign to encourage members to give us the most accurate information via their online member profile. So once this system is to a place where we feel comfortable with it, we want to really go a strong campaign, encourage and incentivize it for members to get on, put that picture on there, add in their employer if it's not there, put in their pronouns, talk about their Twitter handle, and all those cool things we have in the system that tells us about our membership. A database is only as good as the data that's in it. And right now we have some outdated data that we want our members to get in there and tell us, give us more current information. We want to build a member outreach and retention program. So when a new member joins us, one of those 911 new members joins us, we need to get a program in place where they are contacted on a routine basis to share what opportunities exist for them in the organization, what resources are on the website, where, if they haven't joined a chapter, where do they find those options and opportunities? And it's sort of like an onboarding program. You know, sort of, you get hired in a new job, you get, you know, steadily increasing knowledge as you go along. We want to do that for the members, new members as well. And then do things to current members to help retain and respect and understand the power of the organization they're a part of, so they enjoy it and continue to be in it. And then we want to do a pretty strong membership drive focused on lapsed members from the last 3 to 5 years. So those who have, for whatever reason, chosen not to join SPJ again. What we find when we do these kind of lapsed member communications is a lot of them are like, oh, just fell off my radar, glad to join. And that's those are easy wins for the organization. But we also can sell them to those who are like, I'm not sure that was for me anymore. What is SPJ all about these days? And what can we provide and do for them? If we do these next things in the next course of weeks and months, and report back to you in July that on some of the progress of this, I feel like we'll see a lot of things get addressed, and we'll start moving out of some of those persistent and pervasive issues that exist. So that's the information to share with you. And I'll take any questions. Like I said, Amy's here as well and can address questions that she may have more knowledge about. But I just, on behalf of staff, for those who have dealt with the system and had challenges with it and dealt with others who have had challenges with it, I want to apologize that if for some reason we weren't able to address those in a timely or a substantial manner and left you sort of out there. And we are moving out of that staff transition stage to a place where I think we can thrive on these things. But I do want to apologize if that was your experience at all. We will continue to work to make this the best possible system and member experience.
John, let me jump in here real quick. Danielle, I see you. Let me say something real quick here. First of all, it's music to our ears that 911 new members have joined since January. That is a lot of people. I appreciate it. I also appreciate that you have owned it, where you said you were not hands-on enough. I appreciate that honesty. I know that we learn when we find a certain weakness as in how we lead in certain ways. So I appreciate that you took ownership of that, and that you plan to do better. I know that you've been taking training classes with this in Pixium, and I know Amy, and that's another music to my ears. Amy is now the SPJ membership specialist, because I kept hearing who's taking Caroline's job, who's doing that. I know there are always hiccups. I know there's always headaches with this. And anybody please mute yourself. I know that this is not easy, and now that you've explained it, so I appreciate the detail that's gone in here. Real quick, Hazel asked something. Can we get the community membership to show up on the member's profile? Is that a possibility, John?
Yeah, it's a possibility, and let me investigate why it doesn't already exist on there in some regards, and we can try to make that a prominent feature on the profile.
Okay.
It does show up as an option to choose when you join and when you go to your profile, but you're right. I don't know that it shows up in that very first screen.
Mm-hmm. Claire, thank you for bringing that question to my attention. All right, Danielle, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I thank you so much, John, for your presentation. Thank you for outlining a lot of those issues. And I'm glad that you are taking this seriously. I think, honestly, our website and our CM has the way we process members. I think it's been like one of the biggest challenges that's been holding SPJ back in terms of enrolling new members. I know from personal experience running a chapter, it's you have to file those in your reports and on a piece of paper. Like you should be able to feed that information to the system. It should be automatically reflected on the site. Very easy for chapter presidents and leaders to be able to scroll through that data, scroll through that information, and get a proper analysis of like the state of their chapter. There's challenges like if you're like a member from one chapter and then you move and have to switch to another chapter, trying to figure that out is difficult. I know you're going to be taking feedback from community members and chapters to try to address the issues. I want to kind of learn more about the process surrounding that. I think this is certainly the biggest, one of the biggest issues that we face and right now as an organization. And, it is really concerning, but like, I want to kind of get a sense of like what this process is. And
John?
Yeah, so Daniel, exactly your question is, what is the sort of what the steps we're taking? Is that what you're?
Yeah, what's the process for getting community feedback, chapter feedback, and
Oh,
making sure
okay.
all their concerns are being integrated?
Yeah, so we get significant amount of feedback from folks already, and we incorporate that when we hear about it. So we already, there are many chapter leaders who reach out and provide information and suggestions for how to make it better. So without even asking, we get plenty of that, and much of that has been incorporated or will be incorporated. We have done some focus groups with campus chapters as for part of our educational program and training, but I think feedback from those focus groups could be looked at to see what would help with a system like this. I saw Adam put in the chat something that I think would be a really important thing to do, which is have more routine meetings with chapter leaders and myself and our membership staff, just to kind of hear about what they're experiencing and their concerns and so on and so forth. The other thing that we don't do very much, and I don't know that we've ever done, and this could be part of the onboarding process for the new members, is satisfaction surveys at points throughout their experience. So 6 months after they join, could we ask them like, how's your experience going? What could make it better? What can you remember about joining SPJ that was easy, hard, difficult, any of the above? Or we could even do it instantaneously after they join too. So I think all that kind of feedback can be incorporated. So we're going to sit down and organize ways to gather that feedback. At this point, we're still at the point of trying to put out some fires when it comes to some of those issues I described. And then after that, we can stretch a bit and then get that feedback to make the system even stronger.
And Danielle, can I jump in real quick? Another thing that's really helped, Adam Sennett has been a great help. Many of the regional coordinators have brought the chapters together. The communication has been there because Claire and I are seeing the emails that go to John, because sometimes they come to me or they may go to Claire and then we send it over to John. So the communication process, of course, these are journalists. They're going to contact you any way they can. And so they have been doing an amazing job. The chapters, and again, speak up. This is what we're all about, communication. And the regional coordinators have helped. And Adam Sennett has gone beyond the call of duty. So when it concerns that process, making sure that John knows the issues, this is the communications channel. Now, is it an organized? No, it's just emails. And, everybody may have a different issue. But the good thing that John and Amy are doing it is categorizing. Okay, we got this, and we got this. And so this is how they're addressing it. They're all a priority. So I thought I'd let you in on that. You were going to say something else, Danielle?
Yeah, just like one more thing, and thank you for your comments, Rebecca. I appreciate it. The fact that a lot of this is, is been due to, issues with staffing turnover is a little bit concerning to me as well. Clearly, as you mentioned earlier in the meeting, nonprofits go through staffing changes. There's, kind of like a revolving door, if you will. I think, whether this is the right system or not, we need a system, I think, that would automate a lot of this information, would be doing automatic record keeping of all of this information as people register and don't register. I know it's complex. But it is really important that when we lose a few staff members, we don't have a process where we're going to have to hand go through every single thing to figure out what these issues are. It's a big deal that we're losing members because of this. And I know I appreciate all your efforts to get this back online. Now that we're going through this process, we really should, I really encourage you to think about all of the ways that we have backup in the event that a staff member leaves, and where we can easily kind of resolve these issues and that they would not be affected by staff turnover. So,
and I think what will help now, Danielle, and very valid points that you bring up is, as John said, he was not hands-on enough, but now he will be, because now the transition, if someone like Amy would leave, there he is. He knows the every A, B, and C of it. So I hope moving forward, you're right. We can't have a moment to have a hiccup while there's a transition in staff. And we know this from our own newsrooms, right? Because sometimes we have to carry on the work when someone leaves. So thank you for those comments. I appreciate it. Any other board members on this? Anybody? Okay. Colin, I'll let you have your hand raised.
Hey, yeah, thanks. I'm still driving, sorry. But yeah, I just wanted to suggest that given all of the incoming feedback, input, suggestions you're getting, maybe organizing something of a hearing, listening session among chapter leaders, regional coordinators would be helpful, just like a meeting for us to sort of outline the issues that we are having together as a group. I think that would benefit Amy as well, to hear some of that, and just having it all be sort of organized in one meeting, perhaps, or even a series of meetings. I think that would also just help everyone feel heard on this issue as well. I think that's also important, and also create like a little bit of a document, a centralized sort of record of all of the issues that people might be having, and some of the suggestions that they have. Just have that all documented in one sort of listening session. I think that would be really great. Also, I know we have 911 new members, but I also wonder, like, what's the total? Has that affected our total membership number? Are those new or renewal members? Also, like, how many have lapsed? I'd like to know that number as well, because those are people who might even not know that they had lapsed and just need a notification that, oh, you have to renew. Now you lapse. That often is the case. Most people don't even realize that their membership expired, and then it's good for us to get to them, and let them know that it did expire and they should renew. So I just wanted to, it's good to drill down into those numbers a little bit deeper. That's all.
Colin, excellent suggestions. In fact, those meetings is something that I don't know if you heard it, but Adam Sennett had also suggested, which is great. In fact, about the numbers and renewals, those are numbers that I did ask John about yesterday. John, can you answer that? How has this, the system, because it does, have had some problems, how has it affected the renewals? I mean, have we seen people renewing? I mean, 911 members, new members is fine, but how has it affected the renewal process? Have we lost members because of the hiccup?
So I pulled that report yesterday, and Amy helped me pull a report on that. And it was so, the report was so large that it was hard to navigate with, because it reflected both if somebody joined, renewed a pro membership, and then renewed Deadline Club, for instance, it had them as two records. So I would have to go through and sort and make sure to get a correct count versus just to get that one record. So I don't know if I have the right report to give you that information, but that report showed 1,200 renewals over the course of the last since January 1, but that could be some duplication of some people renewing to a chapter as well. So I will need more time to get you that information, and I will, and we'll be able to track. Can we say for certain that we've lost members because of this software issue? No, I don't think we can, because I think it's, again, it's more a reflection of how the data is reflected. We have many members that are still active in the system, but aren't being counted as active because of the timing of when they were in there. But that's a staff manual correction that we just need to catch up on, and will. So
Thank you. Hillary Niles, I'm calling on you. You have your hand
Hi.
up.
Thank you. I just needed a second to unmute myself, Rebecca. And I just appreciate all of this conversation. And I want to underscore that hopefully, as outreach is done to chapter leaders and regional coordinators, community leaders will be included in the conversation, because we also have some of the same challenges with membership management, and we actually are not able to even access our roster independently. That's something that we have to make a special request to headquarters. So I think that would be something, you know, an area of efficiency to achieve. But also the process for joining communities is structurally different from the process for joining chapters. And a lot of people remain unclear about it. It's actually such a persistent problem that I changed the signature on the SPJ Freelance community email account to include a document with screenshots walking people through the several step process that they need to follow just to join a community. And so I do just want to underscore that this is not solely a chapter issue.
And I will, again, Hillary, tell you that when I talk to John and Claire, it's always communities, chapters, and committees, all on equal basis. You are just as important, as I just said when I started my president's report, but thank you for the reminder. And also thank you for the suggestions. I know that John will take them into consideration, because those communities, and as you know, I'm a freelancer, are very important, very important. Again, another part of the backbone of this organization. So Hillary, thank you for those suggestions. I appreciate it. Hazel Becker.
Hi. I have been looking at membership reports for the freelance community for about maybe 2 or 3 years. Okay. And I know that it's difficult, but I also know that it's possible to get a report. I don't know about this on the new database, but on the old database, it was possible to get a report that had some wiggle room on whether somebody's renewal actually got in by the end of the month. So it wouldn't drop the person from the roster if they simply didn't, if their renewal came in a little late. And I think that is an important thing to be looking at too in the database. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Hazel. Again, I know that John and Claire are writing all this down. You know, your feedback, everybody here, your feedback is important, because we can't think of everything. We can't see every, where there's a hole to be filled. And what Hillary and Hazel just brought to our attention is important. Again, for all you chapters, you know where you can find us. We can't fine tune anything without your feedback, and I welcome it. And I know Claire and John do too. And I'll be honest with you guys, I meet with John, and Claire and I meet every Tuesday. One of the first things we talk about is this membership issue, because it has been a headache. It has been, I'd love to spend my energy in something else. It is frustrating. I have 6 months left, and I don't want to turn over a problem to Claire. So I appreciate all you guys that you're trying to make it better. And, I appreciate that you're very professional about it, not pounding us in the face with it. Because if we don't work as a team together, if we don't have this positive, productive momentum, then it's hard. One of the things I've also just want to be fully transparent. If I'm not happy, and as a board and as a membership, we're not happy with this Impixium, their contract runs out. And so, that's something that John is aware of. But again, he has faith in this system, and I have to trust our executive director and his guidance. But I appreciate all of you that have given us feedback, because without it, again, as a board, we can't see every issue that needs to be filled. You're feeling it, you as the leaders. This is important. Anybody else? Yes, Danielle.
Hey, yeah, I think like one way that could be a good way to proceed with this is, if John could collect the feedback in like a single document, like by the time of our next meeting, I think in July, if he could have a document that outlines the different concerns and things that need to be improved that have been identified by members of chapters or communities, to have a report and say, we were able to address this, or we addressed this issue. And if there's like a concern or something like that, that they weren't unable to address, to say, we're having trouble addressing this issue, here's why, or maybe like, this is something we plan to address, but haven't had a chance to get to it yet. I think that would be really helpful in terms of like showing us the problems that are happening, but also seeing like the progress that, in terms of resolving these issues.
Yeah, that is something, actually, he has a checklist, because when he meets with Claire and I, it's like, here's the problem that maybe, let's say, SPJ New England brought up. When was it resolved? I'm very much like you. As a journalist, I like documentation. Here's the question, here's the answer. But to make sure the board sees this, to see that progress is important. So I know that John has that checklist already. John, do you want to add anything to this?
I think that's a good suggestion from Danielle as a way to report back to you on how we're doing this. There's the feedback. There's also the things we know, because they're just very basic things that have to be fixed, and we can prioritize those and get those fixed as soon as possible. And then there's, getting that feedback and incorporating it and all that, we can report back to you on how we're doing there. So I'll see that Amy has her hand up, and if it's all right, Rebecca, if she can
Amy
speak too, because she's working pretty
is
exclusively.
our membership specialist, by the way, everybody. All right, Amy, go ahead.
I just wanted to say one comment to Hazel. We members don't actually fall off until 90, almost 120 days, to where they actually fall off and have to rejoin. They are still a part of the system. We also give everyone we give them a 30-day window after they expire, before they're even not on, they're still on your reports. They just may not be active, but they're still on your reports. So I don't want anyone to be concerned that members are falling off. They're actually not falling off. I mean, they are still there. They just may not be renewed at the present time. But then again, after their renewal dates hits, they still have an extra 30 days before anything does happen. So I wanted to address that. And I wanted to say that I think, and John and I spoke about this, I think it would be fantastic to have, a group of people that, that we can meet with and that we can everyone can share their concerns. I think that's a fabulous idea. I think that, a monthly meeting or something would be a great idea. So, but I appreciate everyone's comments.
Amy, thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it. And again, thank you for coming on board with SPJ. We know that you're taking on a big project here, and so much appreciated. Anybody else? I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Trying to keep under, 4 hours of a meeting. Anybody else? Raise your hand. Claire, do you see anything? John?
No, I'm checking around and I don't see
right.
anything right now.
And feel free to, again, email John, email me. If you're going to email John, please CC us. If you email me, CC Claire and John, we're always in conversation. Again, thank you for your feedback on this issue. All right, now we're going, anybody else? Just want to make sure I don't miss anybody. Sorry, guys, it's a little laptop here. All right, so now we're going to move over to the financial report. Again, I'll turn it over to John Schertzer and Jake Koenig. Let's go. Financial.
All right. Yeah, Yvette, as was announced earlier, has had to be called into her job today, so she's not here to present. So we'll kind of fill you in and note that the Finance Committee did review what we're sharing with you as well, and seem to approve and find the information adequate. And then we'll talk first about the report for the year end 2021, and then we'll talk about the building sale and what's going to happen, or what we propose happens with those proceeds. But to start with the year-end report 2021. So this board meeting, we typically are able to share with you how we performed financially for the whole previous calendar year or fiscal year, but now it's the same thing, calendar year and fiscal year. So the report that's in your packet details a lot of things, gives you a lot of information about the various variances and things like that you'll find overall, we ended up positively in the black, so to speak, when it comes to the budget. And so that's good for the organization. That means those funds can be applied to our reserves and it can help us as needed into the future. And, but some of it, a large chunk of it, almost all of it was attributable to receiving the PPP loan from the federal government that was part of the COVID relief package. And that was helpful to the organization. We certainly benefited from that help. And, we're going to continue to think through and think forward about how do we save on expenses, increase revenue, do all the things we need to do to perform financially. But Jake, I'm sorry if I took any of the things you would normally have said, but do you have anything, Jake, you want to add to that introduction?
No, John, I don't think so. Other than, like I said, we always look at everything on a cash basis because that's how you have to manage businesses. And so for 2021, SPJ had positive unrestricted cash flow of $186,000, and that unrestricted cash flow means that money is not designated for anything. We don't have to set it aside to use it for a specific purpose. So as John said, it did go to increase our reserves, which gives us more financial punch going into the future. Expenses were significantly lower than budget, and a lot of that had to do with travel related to travel for the staff, for board members, as well as the fact that the convention was not an in-person convention. So those are basically the highlights of the year. So there were, of course, fluctuations in the budget to actual, which there are always going to be. But did anybody have any questions about the specifics that were in the report or kind of in general?
Jake, this is Rebecca. I know that, yeah. Real
Yeah.
question here, real quick. When you talk about the assets that we have, is that including the PPP that we got? Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm not sure I understand your question. So
I mean,
I guess let me just regroup. So we received in $195,000 in cash from the SBA, and that went into our overall cash flow of the organization, along with all the cash that we got in from our normal revenue streams, along with the expenses that are all going out. And after all was said and done, we had $186,000 left over in cash.
That's the clarification.
So, yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Board, any questions? You've seen the documents, the financial documents. Anybody? Claire, let me know.
I don't see anybody with a hand up right now. Nothing in the chat either.
Jake, real quick, one of the things I remember when we were talking last year about, losing money if we were going to, pull out of the hotel and that kind of thing. And I remember you telling us about our reserves, that we were healthy to a certain point. Are we healthy now in our reserves?
We are
Go ahead.
much more healthier than we were. Because I think when we were talking about paying the hotel a huge fee, and it was going to take over half of the reserves that we had. And by reserves, we mean like money that we have set aside to use for a rainy day, just like you'd have a savings account, for your personal things. So we have the money invested, and we'll use that in times if we ever have to. Otherwise, having a reserve just helps stabilize the financial aspect of your organization. But the fee that we would have had to have paid to the hotel, like I said, was over 100-some thousand. I can't remember the exact figure now, but it would have basically taken almost half our reserves and brought us down to levels that are that we would rather not go to.
Right.
So in turn, we didn't do that, and in turn we got this debt forgiveness money, and it has in effect increased our reserves to a much more healthy level.
Got it.
And it's our goal to maintain that now going forward.
Thank
So we
you.
had a couple of rough years, and now we're kind of back to a level of feasibility.
Thank you for that update. Anybody from the board? Anybody? John, anything else on your report?
No, nothing on that particular part of the report. So if you want to introduce the other section, or do you want me to about the building sale proceeds?
Yeah, you can go ahead, and then we'll talk about the vote on the recommendation.
Yeah, so in a moment, Rebecca can share that the Finance Committee does have a recommendation in this regard, but we did provide for you a memo with some recommendations on how we use the revenue that was generated from the sale of the building. So as you know, we almost got nearly $1 million in overall sale or proceeds for that sale, half of which will be for SPJ to designate and utilize, and half of which for the SPJ Foundation. Our recommendation, as it states plainly in the report, is to invest those funds and then live off the dividends of those funds and the money that's earned out of those funds to help pay for current and future office and occupancy expenses. So in a way, it's a perpetual way to continue to operate the office, continue to operate a office, however we do choose to do that, as well as other administrative expenses that then becomes budget relieving, meaning we don't have to necessarily budget for those in a given year. And that saves money ultimately that can then be applied back towards our mission. We think that that's a wise use of those funds. It's in the spirit of the fact that we sold a building, and that will help us now, in perpetuity, help us cover office and administrative expenses. And so that's what that memo outlines. And Jake and I can answer any specific questions you might have about that recommendation, but that's what we strongly encourage the organization to do.
I know that before we go, and by the way, the recommendation, we took it on April 13th. It was a Wednesday. The Finance Committee voted unanimously on a recommendation that the SPJ board invest funds from the building sale following existing SPJ investment policies and the use of the proceeds to finance occupancy expenses for SPJ and the SPJ Foundation. So that is something we're going to have to vote on board. But I know that Erwin Gretz wanted to say a few words. Erwin, is he here?
Yeah, I am actually.
Hi. Oh, there you're in your car. Okay. Yep. On the move. Yep. Yes, sir. What did you want to share with us?
Well, it's just, really, it's just a couple of things, a couple of points to keep in mind as you decide what you want to do with the recommendation. I mean, number one, can't tell you yet is what my, because we'll be taking that up later this afternoon. I will say at our Finance Committee meeting, there was some skepticism about whether or not this is actually what we wanted to do, whether we wanted to actually set aside a separate fund for occupancy expense, or simply add this money to what we normally invest and then pay for our occupancy expense as budgeted each and every year. But again, I don't know how the board is going to respond to that. The other things that I just thought that I would mention, though, based on our experience, because I know there's been some discussion about using an investment counselor to invest the money. And I can only say that from our experience at the foundation, we've found that we have adopted a fairly hands-off approach. We have most of the foundation's assets invested in Vanguard index funds, which carry no fee. We have had the experience a couple of times in the last decade of setting aside some of our money and handing it over to active money managers to see if we could improve our returns. Both times that we did that, within a couple of years, we found that we were outperforming the money managers we'd hired. So, it's probably not all that difficult to invest some of those monies in relatively low risk investments, index funds that carry very little expense. There's probably not a reason to try to manage them very actively. This, of course, market is also is not a great time to be trying to actively manage just because of some of the economic cross currents. But, that's, in some ways, that's a separate issue because you can never really time the market. The bottom line is, what's your good long-term strategy? At the foundation, we just feel it's doing as little as possible with our money, moving it as infrequently as we can, and keeping our expenses way down. Howard Dubin, who's our treasurer, of course, has had enough experience in business and finance so that he's able to make some good choices among those index funds. We'd be happy to help you with that. Perhaps there's somebody else on your board who feels up to it, but yeah, anyway, that's kind of my 2 cents. And I'm happy to answer any other questions you have about how we have handled our money over the years.
Well, I'll be going into your meeting too. So Erwin, I really appreciate your recommendations, and I wish we had the $16 million you guys have. It's great to know how you've invested and safely kept it, keeping going. I think that's wonderful. My board will have to decide where we go in investing this money from the building. We are so fortunate to have maybe not 16 million, but we have a good chunk of change. So I appreciate that. The foundation has someone like Mr. Dubin who can really watch it. And I think that's wonderful. And I appreciate that you have given us that insight, because it's important. And board, this will be something that while we are just approving today,
Join the meeting.
the recommendation, how that money will be invested will be another discussion later on. So Erwin, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No problem.
So again, board, we're gonna have to vote on this. So again, I'll repeat myself, that the Finance Committee voted unanimously on a recommendation that the SPJ board invest funds from the building sale following existing SPJ investment. Could you guys mute yourself, please? Someone out there is rattling around. Following existing SPJ investment policies, or remember, policies, and use the proceeds to finance occupancy expenses for SPJ and the SPJ Foundation. So board, let's vote on this Finance Committee's recommendation. I'm sorry, Danielle, I apologize.
Oh, yeah, first off, thank you so much, the Finance Committee, everybody at SPJ for and headquarters for doing a great job with this building sale and putting out these recommendations. I appreciate all your thoughtfulness and hard work with this. Very exciting news. Just a quick question: do we know what the office space, what the cost for renting office space will be, and that is directly related to no longer owning this building?
John?
Hello, sorry, 1 second. Calculating, so our current office expenses as far as rental and access to, it incorporates other things like our printing and things like that, because it's inclusive, and that is just over $20,000 annually. So that does not though include, we have a storage facility now because we don't have the building to store things, and we have some other expenses on top of that, such as phone service and things like that. But so it's roughly around $21,000 if we incorporate some of those things in.
And that's yearly?
Yes.
Great.
Now, we did intentionally choose a location that was more affordable. We've intentionally downsized to a place where we didn't want to overburden our budget, not knowing how this all would shake out in the end. So, I think all the staff would say that we're happy generally where we are, but would probably still like to expand a little bit into the future. But at this stage, that's our cost.
All right. Any other questions from any board members? No? All right. So board, let's vote on the Finance Committee's recommendation. I'll entertain a motion on the Finance Committee's recommendation. Anybody?
I'll make the motion.
Can-
I had, do you remember I told you?
Oh, we should give you the key.
Okay. Who wants to second it?
I'll second it.
All right. So Emily made the motion, second by Daniela Ibarra. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, aye. Any oppositions or abstentions? No? Any discussion? All right, see none, the motion carries. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so we are now an hour and a half into our board meeting. Okay, we have some reports from the Nominations Committee and the Delegate Task Force. Oh, John, by the way, thank you so much for your presentation, and Jake too, thank you. First, a report on Mediafest 22, our national convention. I'll turn it over to President-elect Claire Regan, who heads the Planning Committee, and SPJ Director of Education, Karen Sneed.
Thanks, Rebecca. I'm pleased to report that all the information about Mediafest 22 is up on our website. You can Google Mediafest 22 to find it, or go to spj.org/convention. Just a quick overview, and then any questions you can ask. So the conference is scheduled for October 27 to 30 at the Grand Hyatt in Washington, DC. We are co-sponsoring with Associated Collegiate Press and the College Media Association. Right now, we're in the proposal stage where we're seeking programming proposals. That form is available online. And I'm just going to send out a reminder today that our deadline for proposals is April 28th, which is next Friday. So I'm just giving a little pep talk today. If you have any ideas, please share them. I'll put my email in the chat too. You can email me if you have any ideas that way. But we're really encouraging our members, especially our leaders, to put some proposals forward for sessions. The other two organizations will also be holding sessions as well. So we're working that out, but we still need a good 50 from our end for the 3-day conference. There will be a pre-conference day before the convention starts. That information, the schedule is actually online if you wanted to look and see what the whole schedule is. We're having 50-minute sessions with 10 minutes in between to change to your next session. I think that'll work well. That's a quick overview. Let me just ask if Karen Sneath, who's here today, she's our headquarters liaison as education director. Karen, did you want to add anything?
Hey, Claire. I think you did a great job of summarizing. And I'm glad that you recommended that, or reminded everyone that the deadline's April 28th. I did want people to know that we emailed all the community leaders, the committee chairs, and the RCs, encouraging them to both submit and encourage other people that they know to submit. And we're in really good shape. And it's been a pleasure working with you and the rest of the committee.
Yeah, and just to add, we have a little extra time this year on our side planning the committee. It's at the very end of October, later than usual, but it gives us more time for planning. So we're still more than 6 months out, which is great. So we're just kind of pushing the proposal. So please pass the word or make some suggestions yourselves. I'm putting my email in the chat right now for you. Anybody have any questions? And Rebecca, you can help me with that while I put something in the chat.
Yeah, I'm not really good at this, but
I'm gonna look around.
Here's what while she's putting her email, here's the thing, you guys. We're gonna meet in person, right? I want all the, especially I'll tell this to the board members. Please put in an idea for a session, all right? The application's super simple. And if you're thinking, gosh, I don't know if my panelists can make it, hey, possibility that they'll make it. Because in the end, just have someone there. I don't want you to think, now I won't get chosen or whatever. Think of those panels, those sessions we haven't seen in 2 years in person. And I think all of you, especially, committee chairs, committee members, I know the freelance community, don't have to worry about them. They always have at least several. So, if they can do it, you can do it too. Bring in those ideas. The more we have, the more we can choose from. But, some people have said, oh, it's probably a lot to fill in. Believe me, Claire made it very simple. Very simple. Just go in there, a few paragraphs, few people, and it's done. But please, let's have a great Mediafest. Anybody else, Claire?
Rebecca, I'm just going to add on to what you just said. Yeah, last year we had about 70 proposals, and we put into place more than 50 of them. So, we really need your proposals, and we'll use most of them. I see Colin DeVries has his hand up. Colin?
Hey, Claire. I'm wondering if there's going to be like a pricing for registration rolled out soon, like early bird, late bird sort of thing. Also, wondering if for the sessions, are they all in person? So if we wanted to put together, say, a session from the Deadline Club, and some people could do it, could participate via Zoom, is that an option, or do we really want all of our panelists in person in DC? Thanks.
We're all in person, but we're watching the situation, of course. Pandemic is not over. We are watching it, but we're going full force into all in person. Karen, did you want to comment on that at all?
I would just say ditto to you. We're really looking forward to seeing everybody face to face and want to have that type of learning environment live and in person in Washington, DC.
And you know, one of the things that we will be looking into is if recording some of the sessions and then we can offer them later on another financial package is a possibility. You know, what we are observing what other organizations are doing, but yeah, the emphasis this year is really to get together. I hear from all, you know, people from all over the country, they're excited, you know, just to see each other. I mean, the beauty, Colin, is you're just, you know, I think a train ride away, right? I mean, I have to come across from Texas, so I hope you'll be there in person. But you know, good question, and I think that that's important. But you know, please, everybody, you know, definitely, you know, start planning. And by the way, if you haven't bought your flights, now's the time because I don't know if fuel prices are going to go up. Claire,
I see Patty Newberry has a question in the chat, which I can read, and Patty has her hand up. Patty, do you want to ask it yourself?
Sorry, one of my questions about the pricing.
Oh,
I didn't
yes,
want
I'm
that to get
sorry.
Oh,
lost.
sorry, Karen, can you address the pricing part of it?
Sorry, Colin.
The registration hasn't gone up yet, but that will be out soon.
And do we know how much the registration will be?
Is there like an early bird price or and then a regular price, or how are we breaking it down?
Oh, well, John might know that, or Karen.
Yeah, we do have an early bird rate, and it's going to be a pretty lengthy early bird just because our partner organizations tend to like to keep that going for a while. So it is going to be the same. I believe our registration cost is going to be the same as what it was last year. So we haven't increased that, and it'll be set at an early bird rate. And actually our student rate will be a little bit less than in the past because we wanted to align it with what the CMA and ACP student rate is so that there isn't two different rates for college students. So, and that we hope to have the registration tested and ready to go by May 1st. But we have, as Claire mentioned, you know, we have more time this year. So want to get it right, make sure it's working fine. And then, you know, we'll get that up ASAP. Plus we want to get some of our speakers confirmed, our keynotes before we do that if we can.
What is the early bird rate?
Give me 1 second and I'll look that up.
Okay. Colin,
Yeah, I just like to know, because the Deadline Club usually budgets to send a certain number of delegates from the club board, and we'd like to figure out those numbers.
We're getting the numbers for you, Colin. Getting the numbers. What is it? John, do you know?
Do you need another minute, John? Because I'll go to a question.
Yes, I do. Can you just go ahead and
Let's go to Patty and we'll come back to you. Patty, do you want to ask your question in person?
Sure, thank you, and hi, everyone. So I have two questions, actually. The one I put in chat is what's the game plan for incorporating fellows, which I understand you guys are going to be selecting today or discussing today. And then second question is what's the game plan in terms of keynotes? Do you have a rough number in mind? You know, some years we've had single keynotes, some years we've had panels be like a keynote, all come to the same session, and related, and I don't know if you're this far down the road, in negotiating with the CMA and the ACP folks, are we working to ensure that we're not bumping into each other and that some keynotes will cut across both conventions? Thank you.
Thanks, Patty. I'll address the fellows part. Karen can chime in too about keynote, but we're still working on that. We're 6 months out. We're in the planning stage for keynote. I believe we're looking for 3. One of them would be one of the fellows, would be a keynoter. Karen, did you want to chime in about that?
Sure. Patty, there's not going to be any competitive programming against the keynotes. So there will be one set on Thursday, one Friday, Saturday will be reserved for the fellows features. And then Sunday, ACP and CMA are coordinating an additional keynote. Of course, it'd be open to all of our members, but there will be 3 that are on our radar for coordinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, did we address all those questions for you, Patty?
You did, but I'm going to be proposing someone that I think would be a great keynote person, and obviously it's obviously got to go to your committee. But when I approach him, I want to use the language that I'm putting you in as a possible keynote. So just wanted to see where you were, make sure that we still have plenty of time to negotiate all that. And I'll make clear to the person I have in mind that we can't guarantee that, but that's what I hope is the outcome. Thank
Yeah,
you.
There's time. There's time. I will just say that I'm interested in the fact that we are in Washington, D.C., and it happens to be the 50th anniversary of the break-in at the Watergate building. That was June 17th, 1972. So being that we're going to be in Washington, I'm trying to work that in somehow to sessions or maybe a keynote. I don't know, but that's the type of thing. That's where we are with our stages right now.
And let me jump in real quick. Everybody take Patty Newberry's lead. You got somebody you think it was a keynote, reach out to them. Yeah, it's a possibility. I mean, it's no guarantee you'll be chosen, but at least put them out there. I mean, look, she's already thinking of somebody. That's a contribution. That's important, but because and I'm also on the planning committee with Claire, we can't think of everybody. So, I think Claire and Karen are on track with everything. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Claire,
email me and Karen. That would be great. We welcome suggestions. We're still in that stage now. Thanks, Patty. All right, going back to John. Do you have your numbers, John?
Yeah, so the professional member rate for early bird, which will go through early October, so that's a long early bird time, is $260, and then regular is $360. A student member early is $150 and regular is $170. There's also non-member rates as well, but I don't, if you want me to give you all that, I can, or if those seem to be the most important ones for this group.
good information. Thank you.
Good, thanks, John. I'm just looking to see if there's any other questions. I don't think so.
Patty, any more questions? I see your hand still up.
I think it's still left over.
Okay.
I think we're good.
All right.
And that's it for my report on Mediafest 22.
Okay, one of the things that we have to discuss, I don't know if this is a time, but are we going to have vaccination expectations? I know that NHJ, NEBJ is already asking for proof that you've been vaccinated, that kind of thing. Every organization is different. And so this is where, we'd like some input from all of you. If there should be a vaccination requirement to attend our conference. I'm not sure if we, want to talk about it now. John, what, for Katie, because Katie's the one that's helping us with that hotel. I don't need, and DC, and again, I don't live in DC, so anybody from DC here right now, is there a mandate in their hotels to, be vaccinated, wear a mask, and anybody, I think the Beckers are from the DC area. Anything?
The mandates in DC have been lifted at this point. That doesn't mean they aren't coming back for some reason later on, but
Yeah.
I don't think they exist anymore anywhere in DC, unless the corporation itself has set them, because they can do that.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. I appreciate you telling me that, since I don't live in DC. But again, as he puts it, it can change.
We have one question from Andy Schatz and then Danielle.
Let me go with Danielle, since she's a board member. Danielle?
Oh, go ahead, Danielle.
Yeah, I would just say I highly recommend that we do implement a vaccine requirement, improving vaccination, especially since we have a digital virtual aspect to this conference. I think that would be, the laws in DC are, very strict. This is going to be an endemic, it's no longer a pandemic, essentially. Meaning that, different spikes will happen at different times. I think the health and safety of everybody at the conference is crucial here. And so we can help lower our risk by,
having a requirement.
Making sure that there's a vaccine requirement. So thank you.
Thank you for your feedback. I'm also on that whole tone, and it will be something that I guess, John, maybe that, Katie, we have to figure out, again, are we going to have someone from staff look at your card? you know, and I believe with NABJ, NHJ, I haven't gone into it. I don't know if anybody's going to a conference. I think you have to supply them with a copy of something. I'm not really sure. I may be speaking.
Yeah,
out.
no, if I can jump in, because I was looking at that this week, it's like a whole, like, I think the program's called Clear. I think it's something that like the airport does too, but like you have to do a whole like process through Clear to be verified. And I just looked at their website, and I'm also going to IRE, and they're also requiring it. And they have like a separate form for if you need a vaccine exemption, but it's like case by case basis, but they're all requiring it. So I'm on board with that too.
Thank you, Daniela. It's something that, you know, John, I think that we need to look into, see what these other organizations are doing. Well, I will say that when I went to, you know, get my registration for NHJ, NABJ, it just seemed very tedious. And I thought there's got to be an easy way. But again, safety matters first. And, you know, I'm going to that conference for sure. But, you know, we have to find a way. And I'm with our board members who are for a vaccination requirement, because we still have to be safe. John, go ahead.
Let me just share it. So, you know, since registration will open before we meet again, I just want to make sure you understand what we're doing, and then you can say it's okay the way we're handling it at this point. On through the registration process, registrants will indicate that they attest that they will be fully vaccinated per the CDC requirements at the time they attend the conference. Or I believe there's language about negative tests, you know, a week before, things like that. The question is then, how do we, as Rebecca stated, how do we enforce that? That can be figured out later, I believe, and that can be a process that's identified. But by now, by what we state right now, before we launch the registration site, there is a vaccine requirement. We're requiring the people that are attending are vaccinated. So if you don't want us to do that, I guess speak up, because otherwise that was what we were going to do in New Orleans. And so that's what we sort of just carried over that language into our DC event.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you filling us in on that issue. And thank you to everybody who's given your feedback on this, because again, our safety matters, but you know, we do want to meet in person. Anybody, anything else, Claire? You done with your report?
Yeah, Andy Schatz had a question in the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry. Andy, you want to speak up? I'm sorry, John, I'll get to you 1 minute. Andy?
Yes, my question was just in light of the challenge of trying to plan an in-person convention with COVID and the cancellation policy that could affect our contract, if there's anything written into the contract this year.
There's nothing specifically about COVID in the contract that says that, but there is language like others about force majeure regarding, you know, if they're unable to host our event, and that we use that for the last 2 years with the hotels because of COVID policies and, you know, the inability for groups to gather and things like that. So hotels are loath to put in a specific pandemic or COVID clause. And we did sign this contract last year, but I think we, like the last 2 years, let's hope it isn't the case, but if there's some breakout that we need to deal with, we have tools in which to do that.
Thank you. Thank you. You wanted to add something else, John? I'm sorry.
I was just going to answer Andy's question from the chat, which he just stated.
Okay, good. And thank you, Claire, for telling me about the questions in the chat. All right, anybody else?
I don't see any other hands up.
So thank you, everybody. And again, please, April 28th is the deadline for these sessions. You guys have great ideas. Great ideas. Come on, put them in there. I'm hoping, Claire, I'm just saying this, maybe we can extend it, but I'm not gonna, you know, it's all up to you guys.
Possibility.
All right. Yeah, possibility. All right, now I'm gonna turn it over to, thank you, John, again. Now I'm going to turn it over to Adam Sennett, Chair of the Delegate Task Force. He has a report. Adam?
Hey everyone, sorry about that. So yep, I have the report on the Delegate Analysis Task Force. The Delegate Analysis Task Force was formed at the last convention in September to study the method by which the society conducts business and whether its methods provide equitable representation to chapters, communities, and members who are not affiliated with either. We had 7 meetings between November and April, and we offered 5 recommendations. The biggest one was to abolish the delegate system and go towards a one person, one vote. That was a 6-1 vote. I believe Stacy Overton voted against it. And we're all going to be getting our report. I believe Rebecca had said that there's going to be a meeting in May when the board will vote on it, whether to move it forward or not. So, and then from there it would go, if it is moved forward, the recommendations are moved forward, it would go to the bylaws committee and then the delegates at the convention in October.
Thank you, Adam, for your report. Board, now that the delegate task force has put forth its recommendation, here's my idea. Let's give our members time to see the recommendations themselves. I've talked to John. We're going to post these written recommendations on our website. Let our members go look at them, absorb them, give us their feedback. By the way, everybody, Adam will be available to answer any of your questions via email. As a board, we can vote on the recommendations in a special board meeting next month. I don't want any of our members to think this was rush, 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 rush. No, we need to give our members time to read the recommendations, to see them. Jennifer Ellis was wondering about that. Give them time and come up with their feedback before we vote. Now, if the recommendations are passed by the board, approved, the recommendations will go to the bylaws committee. That committee will compose the language so the delegates can vote on the issue at our October conference, so a convention. Now, so here's what I'm thinking, board. I'm proposing a special board meeting for Saturday, May 28th. All right. And it should be a short meeting, but I want to make sure that our members, whether they approve or not, are there, have a voice. It's important to hear their feedback. I need the board's thoughts on this. Anybody? Claire?
I think it's a good suggestion. I like your suggestion for May 28th meeting and putting it out there for the membership. That's a great idea.
And we're going to post these recommendations so any of you can download them, look at them, email any questions, email Adam. Daniela Ibarra?
Yeah, I know Israel and I were on that task force, and I just wanted to, publicly say thank you to Adam. I know he put a lot of work into, keeping these meetings organized. And every time that, I went to one of these meetings, I mean, everyone was super involved and everyone really cared about it. So I just wanted everyone who hasn't been to those meetings or hasn't sat in on them to know that. And I agree. I think the main meeting is a good idea too.
Yeah.
Adam put his contact information in the chat for everybody.
Thank you, Claire. And yeah, I mean, it's important, that as a board that we allow the membership to look at this. This would be a change. Anybody not talking right now, please mute yourselves. And
actually, Raphael had his hand up.
Yeah,
I think, and then Israel.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that I was not on mute. I apologize.
It's all right. It's okay. But anyway, your feedback is important. And these recommendations, again, John and I have talked, will be posted on the website. Raphael?
Yeah, I think in addition to having this May meeting, I think that we need to give our members a chance to speak before that meeting. Let's have either as a group or individually as board members, let's talk to as many members as we can in a formal setting, or not formal, but in a public setting, town hall, so to speak, just to have give people a chance to express their opinions, express their views. Nothing binding, no votes coming out of it. Let's take an hour on a Thursday and say, here's my thoughts and here's why I think this is a good idea, this is a bad idea. And that way, when we get to the May meeting, we don't have a backlog of 600 members who all want to say just one thing. We have a chance to do that.
Yeah, I like that idea. Maybe like on a Wednesday or Thursday, have just a talk where you guys, the members, can come and talk and say what you need to say before we do our vote. Maybe in the middle of May. I think that's a great idea, Raphael. I really like that.
Rebecca, if I can jump in.
Rebecca, I'm jumping in because a bunch of people are pointing out that's Memorial Day weekend, just to point that out.
I understand. And I knew that was Memorial Day weekend. I just thought it's not going to take. And now that Raphael has said, hey, why don't we have a town hall in maybe in the middle of May? By that time, we can just come in here. We've had the feedback and do our vote.
Okay.
Is everybody have, go ahead. I'm going to go with Israel Valderas.
Israel, yeah. Danielle, I see.
Yeah. Madam President, I think that's a great idea that you bring forth to give members a chance to weigh in on this. Obviously, the delegate task force has gone through the process of fact gathering. I'd encourage also members to look at the videos that are posted on YouTube of those meetings so that if we do decide to have a mid-May town hall meeting, I would strongly encourage folks to see the deliberation process, see how we questioned people who we were gathering information from. And that way they come to the town hall already informed as to how the process developed over the last few months. But I wholeheartedly support your idea going forward.
Yeah, and I really like Rafael's idea. I think, you know, this, if we have a town hall, everybody can come. I mean, not that 600 people will show up because we only have 29 here today, but that's a great idea. Let me see, any other board, Danielle McQueen?
Hi, thank you so much. I think it's a great idea for to do the town hall and then also to hold this meeting to kind of go over all of these. I do agree with several commenters though. I think it would be important not to do this on Memorial Day weekend. Let's do this in early June.
All right.
I want to make this as accessible of a process as we possibly can in order for this to succeed. If members do decide that this is the best way to go forward, we want to get as much buy-in and be as transparent as possible. And so doing that in early June, I think wouldn't be a detriment at all, but it'll also help the process.
Sounds good. How about June 4th? Saturday, June 4th. I just want to give enough time to the bylaws committee with whatever language they may have if we decide to approve it. So is June 4th good for the board? Please let me know. Let me know in the chat. That's important. And Claire, look at it. Look at the chat.
Yep.
Yes.
Emily Block.
All right,
Hi.
Emily Block.
Hi, if I may, I completely agree with what Danielle is saying. I think pushing it another week might give people more flexibility and time to prepare. I wonder if at the town hall, which I love that idea, if maybe we could give like 2 or 3 dates and time options for that meeting to see what works best for the majority of the people that are at the town hall. I only offer that because when I talk to particularly like student members that approach me, some of their hesitations are that it's a Saturday meeting in the middle of the day. They're either trying to have their weekend away from school, or they're working a second job. So I wonder if we maybe put 2 options out there, one on a weekend, maybe one not on a weekend, and see what works better, and then go from there. I wonder if maybe it would diversify our audience a bit.
I love that idea, Emily. Another thing we have to think, not everybody's on Eastern time. You know, a lot of people are on the West Coast. So that was another option that we have to think, because a lot of times, I mean, everything's planned on Eastern time, Eastern time. And, you know, so that's great. Let's think of, you know what, let's do 2 town halls if we can. It takes planning, and I know that John and his staff will help us with this, but I just don't want anybody to say that we didn't do the best we could in when it concerns these delegates. So great recommendations, you guys. I love it. I love it.
Hazel, Hazel, I think there's no other board members with a hand up. Hazel.
All right, Hazel.
Yeah, I'm asking for Hillary, who's driving at this point. Out of curiosity, why is the report not already published as part of the board packet for this meeting?
Because I wanted to make sure I explained everything, or our plan, what we plan to do with it, with the meeting, and then as of, you know, this week, you'll have it. Again, you know, I mean, we have time. I don't believe in rushing. I wanted to hear the feedback. What do you want? Look what we're hearing, 2 town halls. Then we'll vote in May. So I hope that answers Hillary's questions. I always like to be prepared.
Hillary said thank you. And I have an add-on question.
Add it on.
I'm trying to think of it.
Okay, I can come back to you.
Thank you.
Sure. Just, or put it in the chat if you want to, and Claire will relay it. But yeah, you know, guys, here's the thing. This is a very important issue, you know, to replace one system with another, right? I mean, we're familiar with it. So it is important, this board, that members have everything. I don't want ever to be accused, oh my God, they rushed it, we never had a voice. I mean, it's great that Emily and Rafael said, you know, 2, let's have 2, let's have the town hall. Perfect. Again, you know, your feedback matters, because I can't see everything. Claire can't see everything. John can't see everything. My board can't see everything. And so this feedback makes it more productive and more positive. Whatever we decide, excuse me, whatever we decide in the long run for this recommendation. I personally want to thank Adam and the committee for volunteering to take on this issue, which can be a little complicated. So I want to personally thank you, and the board thanks you for taking on this effort. Anybody else? Hazel, did you think of that question? Because your hand is still up.
Yeah, I did. I just wanted to know if the minority report was going to be part of the task force report.
The minority report. Adam Senate?
Yes, there is a, if by minority report, you mean the dissenting opinion,
Yes.
that is included in the report, yes. Stacy, Stacy got it in.
Oh, yeah. It's important, you know, a good question, Hazel. You know what? We're transparent. We threw, you know, the pros and cons, the people who were for it and against it. It's important to have it all out there because everybody has a voice at this organization. Thank you, Hazel, for remembering that question.
Rebecca, Andy Schatz has a question in the chat specifically for Adam. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, Andy, go ahead and just ask Adam. So this way, I don't have time to read the chat. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. This is a question that's going to be, I'm sure, be addressed as the discussion continues, but a yes or no question answer this would be fine. And one of the biggest challenges in trying to switch to a digital system for people weighing in has been the process on the floor. It involves a lot of amendments, and nothing illustrates that better than trying to create a new code of ethics. So instead of a yes or no vote on something, it requires lots of rounds of votes of smaller changes. And I just want to know if the task force, in eliminating the delegate system, has some type of system in mind for that type of deliberation and decision. Thanks.
Andy, thanks for your question. We actually, so with the one person, one vote system, we voted to eliminate amendments at the convention. Everything at the convention would be an up or down vote. But we did include in our recommendations that the bylaws committee would have to have a 60-day period for input and comment from members before they moved proposed bylaws recommendations to the board. But the system in which bylaws changes what moved to the convention would stay the same. So it would still go through the bylaws committee and to the board, but there would be a definite opportunity for input before that.
But my question is just, though, is if you are taking up a code of ethics at the convention, it's dozens of votes, yes and no, and amendments, something like that. Is a process like that going to be in place for that type of complexity for an issue?
I'm confused what you mean by amendments. Do you mean like amendments being proposed like at the convention to the language of bylaws changes?
The code of ethics went through lots of changes on the floor, and each one was voted up yes or no. And you can't really do that in real time remotely. So I just want to know if there's a system that's envisioned for doing that.
So like I wasn't there for the code of ethics when it was voted in. Was that a bylaws change?
Well, it's creating a code of ethics.
I understand that, but the convention, the bylaws changes and the resolutions are what we were focused on. So if it's not a bylaws change, it wouldn't have to go through the bylaws committee. It wouldn't have to go through the board.
Okay,
Correct.
I guess I could kind of amend my question to anything that's not a straight up yes or no. It's a let's change to this. That process can be complicated.
There's no amendment process for bylaws or resolutions in the one person, one vote system that we recommended.
All right.
Okay, I'll just wait to see how it turns out. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate you asking those questions. Let me see.
Yeah,
Raphael?
Yep. And
Hi. Are we envisioning any role for delegates in the future, or are we scrapping it entirely?
Replace it with a one vote, one vote, one member, like many of the other journalism organizations that exist today.
Right. What I was thinking was that, is there still going to be some role for the delegate system to do other things, not necessarily for bylaws changes, but for the other things that the membership does?
Adam?
Nope. Our proposal and our recommendation is to eliminate the delegate system.
Israel?
Yes, no, so, sorry, my question is more process, Madam President. I didn't know if you wanted the board to vote on those dates, or it was just going to be by consent?
We will come to board. You know, you're talking about Memorial Weekend. How about June 4th, Saturday, June 4th? Is that good? Give me a yes.
Yes, I'm fine with that. I
Israel?
wonder if we should. Go ahead.
We should what?
You said June 4th.
June
right?
4th is Saturday.
So I'm saying yes, that works for me in the date.
Does it not work for anybody here? Because I'm just trying to stay away from your Memorial Day weekend. Is it good for everybody?
Yeah, I don't see any complaints. I think you're good to go.
All right, so we're going to propose June 4th, Saturday, and we will have everything that this task force has covered, has talked about. It will be, and the recommendations will be put on the website. Also, if you have any questions, again, email Adam Sennett. He'll get the answers to you. All right, we're almost close to 2 hours into this meeting. So June 4th, Saturday, and then everybody can enjoy their weekend. Okay, so I'm gonna move on. Now we're joining us is Ashanti Blaze Hopkins with a nominations committee report. Ashanti.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for hearing this report. I would like to report that as of right now, and this is per the bylaws, we are supposed to present a preliminary list of candidates by April 1st, which we have done. As of right now, we have no candidates for president-elect, no candidates for secretary-treasurer, each are a one-year term. As of right now, we have 3 candidates for non-board positions as regional coordinator for regions 1, 4, and 5. We have no candidates right now for regions 5, 7, 8, and 9, which each of them is a 2-year term at this point. The committee has met 3 times this year, and in the works at this time, we are planning a series of 3 virtual moderated Q&A panels featuring current and past board members and regional coordinators. The purpose of these panels is really to educate SPJ members on what each elected position entails and related responsibilities. These panels will also be recorded and posted to SPJ's Election Central website and on its YouTube channel. They are tentatively scheduled for May 24th at 6 p.m. Pacific time, June 7th at 6 p.m. Central time, and June 21st at 6 p.m. Eastern time to ensure that all SPJ members in each time zone have an opportunity to attend those. We already have the May 24th panelists confirmed for that first panel. That's at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Right now it's going to be Daniela Ibarra, Bailin Shah, Jerry McCormick as the panelists for that first inaugural event. In addition to planning those virtual panels, the committee is also working on a set of FAQs that will be featured on SPJ's Election Central website, along with a series of infographics that will clearly explain each position that will appear on this year's ballot and who is eligible to run. All of the FAQs should be posted as soon as John and his staff is able to finalize those answers. So hopefully in the coming weeks, those will be posted as well. The SPJ Election Central website has been updated at this point to reflect this year's candidate declaration date deadline, which will be Thursday, September 15th this year, based on the bylaws requirements that candidates declare 6 weeks ahead of the SPJ convention. This is also where candidates can declare their intention to run. The committee has also set dates for this year's voting window. SPJ's 2022 elections will run from 12 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday, October 27th to 3 p.m. Saturday, October 29th. Candidates will be asked to submit a 3-minute speech that will live on SPJ's Election Central website. There will also be a moderated candidates forum on Thursday, October 27th at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Each candidate will have the option to participate either in person on ground or virtually to ensure that we have equity in that process. The nominations committee will be reaching out to its network of SPJ members to recruit candidates for this year's election, and we encourage and implore other SPJ board members and SPJ members in general to please do the same and promote all 3 of the upcoming virtual Q&A panels that we are currently planning. And that is my report at this time. Thank you.
Any questions for Ashanti? Any? Here's what I'm going to say. I encourage all of you. All of you are leaders here. I mean, if you didn't care about SPJ, you wouldn't be here. Go find somebody that you know has leadership qualities. It's like Alex Triquenio, who approached me 3 or 4 years ago and said, come on, help me change things. I said, well, I don't know if I can do it. But look at me now. And believe me, I've had my obstacles, but look at me now. You can do this. If I can do this, you can do this. You can be the next president, the next president-elect, the next secretary, the next at large. You can do it. The only people who stop you are you yourself. So please find somebody, nurture somebody. I love some of these chapter leaders who are already mentoring the next group that's coming in. Find that person that's ready to lead. They're out there. Bring new faces. Look at our board. Look how different it is from what it was a few years ago. New faces. Find people that have been with this organization for a while and say, hey, help me. How did you do this? I'm an open book. Claire's an open, all my board members here, they're open. So please, if in your head you think I can't do it, and believe me, yeah, sometimes my husband's like, you should get paid for this. Yeah, it's true. For me, it is a job 24/7, but I love it because I love being a journalist, because I'm still out there looking for stories. And if I can't lead this organization, you can, I know you can. So please, if you don't want to run yourself, go find at least one person. Just do me that favor. Because when I hear that nobody's running for president-elect or secretary-treasurer, I think, you know, they're out there. They just need a little encouraging to do it. I know they can do it. Is there any questions out there? And I say any committee chair, community leader, chapter leaders, come up to national. You can do it. I mean, I'm here for you if you need anything. Anything, I'm here to help you, guide you, anything you need. But please, I just want to make sure that in 6 months, when I leave, 6 or whatever it is, you know, I know it's going in great hands because Claire's taking over, but I want to make sure, you know, and she wants to make sure, I know that you have a strong team to carry on all the stuff that we're doing great. I mean, I keep thinking 900 new members since January. That is awesome because people have found a home at SPJ. They have. All right, anybody else? Again, Claire, do you see anything? Thank you, Claire, for helping me out.
Jennifer Ellis has her hand up.
Yes, Jennifer.
I just wonder if there's something that the board can do that would incentivize people to declare early. Maybe that is a problem in people wanting to hold off and wait. And also, I mean, when the regional coordinators became regional coordinators and were regional previously on the board as regional directors, if that the smaller, more nimble board hasn't created a sort of stifling of bringing more leadership up into the board. Because I mean, I would think that somebody who had served on the board previously would move into the secretary, treasurer, or president-elect positions. And I don't know if maybe it be something to consider whether or not the smaller board is making fewer options for people to step into those positions.
Yeah, good feedback, Jennifer. I think a smaller board gets through things quicker. I remember sitting in on those boards where you had a gazillion people there and everybody was talking and there was so much going on. I think right now, the thing is that people may not be running because remember, we're dealing with a pandemic, right? We're kind of coming off of it, still around, but you know, people are changing jobs. You've seen that people have decided, hey, I can work from home. I'm not gonna go work there. And then they have to think, will I get a paycheck? Because let me just say, I spend a lot of time every day on SPJ. Every day. I'm fortunate, I'm a freelancer and I'm fortunate that I invested well my money. So I don't have to worry about a paycheck. But right now there are people that, you know, they have families, their priorities are not this organization. And even though I've recruited people myself, they're like, I can't do it. You know, I got to do this and I got to do that. Or, you know, some of them, I mean, you know, most of us, if you're a family person, you're missing something with your child, right? And so those are the struggles that people are going through. The pandemic changed the thought process a lot. I don't think making it a bigger board is the solution. I think what we need is more people to reach out, touch someone and say, hey, I want you to be a leader. Because, you know, even though we've had these humongous boards in the past, there was still a struggle to fill those positions. You know, it was. Or sometimes it was just the same person for years. And the beauty of now, I think that we've seen a lot of change, a lot of people with, we've never seen before, and that's the beauty of it. So I see what you're saying. I think what we need to do is work as a team and really reach out. And another thing too, maybe they don't declare, Jennifer, until the end because they're trying to work it out financially. I mean, sometimes I'm with Claire, and Claire, I hope you don't mind I share this, but Claire's got a lot of jobs going on. And, I mean, I respect her so much because she gets the job done and then she has to deal with SPJ stuff. And so it is a juggling. And Jennifer, I mean, you yourself, you're juggling things, RC, then you work closely with your chapter. There's a lot. So some of the people don't come in until the end because they want to make sure that when they declare, they got it all in a row. They don't want to say that, oh, geez, I just became the regional coordinator and I have to resign because I didn't know this was coming at me for my job or my family. So I hope that answers your question for now, but thank you for your feedback. I really appreciate it. Anybody else? Yes, John. You have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. Just quickly emphasize that this year the change is instituted that declared candidates have to be declared 6 weeks ahead of convention. So that means it's September 15th. So in the past, it was not a problem to declare all the way up to the bitter end almost, but now we have to continue to promote that there is a cutoff date. And if you don't make that date, you can't run.
Ashanti mentioned that date in her report.
Okay, good. Yeah, I just said double emphasize.
Reiterating. Yep, that's good. No, I want to add on your comments, Rebecca. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but there's a lot of impact that we have, which is great. It's very rewarding. Can I ask a quick question? There's a person on the Zoom who I do not know who it is with the 802 area code. Since I'm subbing for Yvette, I just want to see who that is.
Who is that, please?
I think that's Hillary Niles calling in.
Oh, is it?
No, I thought she was up. Okay.
She was on before. I saw her name, so I'm just wondering.
All right. It's always, thank you. Yeah, usually I check into those phone numbers. You never know who's in our meetings. But yeah, please, go out there and find someone. Maybe not for national. I hope so, national, but maybe on the local level, because I know those chapters, even student chapters, need leaders. Okay, so Lawrence, let me see. Okay, let me look at my little schedule here. Ashanti, thank you so much for your report. Appreciate it. Appreciate that you're leading that committee. Now it's time to go into executive session to discuss the nominees for the Fellows of the Society. We will send a tweet when we're coming out of executive session. Enjoy your Saturday. If you're not coming back, you can always watch the rest of it on video, I guess. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I move to go into executive session.
All right.
Second, Claire. Second.
All right. Motion by Daniela Ibarra, second by Claire Regan. All in favor, say aye.
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 Oppositions or abstentions? Guess not. Seeing none, the motion carries. Let's go into executive session and stop recording. Recording in progress. All right. So everyone, the board has determined the Fellows of the Society, but at this time we're not revealing the names. So stay tuned. That's it for today. Let's continue being positive and productive and focus on our members and making the news industry better. Please put in sessions for Mediafest 22. Please encourage someone to run for the national board, even your local boards. That's important. All right, I'll entertain a motion to end our board meeting.
I move to end the board meeting.
All right, second.
Second.
All right, motion by Daniela Ibarra, second by Claire Regan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any oppositions? All right, seeing none, the motion carries. We'll ending this board meeting at 2:40 p.m. Eastern Time, 1:40 p.m. Central Time on April 23rd, 2022. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.